I'm working on making a side extension table for this Delta Unisaw. It's got a full capacity Unifence, and so I've got my parts and materials laid out here. I'm going to do a MDF top, waxed nicely, and pine framework underneath, and so we'll put it all together and see what happens.
Anytime I'm making shop furniture like this, I'm just a big fan of using plywood, MDF, and scraps of wood. And I just usually use drywall screws for all my joinery. I use a countersinking bit in one of my drills, and then just follow up with the drywall screws with the other, and just work on making it that way. The joinery is plenty strong for shop furniture and very quick. So here I'm putting all the framework together, making sure all my measurements are just right. And all my corners are good. And then I got my middle support braces, making sure my spacing's good. And then once those are all attached, I'll start working on the MDF top. I usually use MDF for the top of these extension tables. You could go further and use some type of laminate, which I've done in some cases when the customer requests it. But MDF is pretty durable, and when you wax it up good, it gets really smooth.
Now the framework's all
built.
built. Well. So now what I'm going to do is transfer some hole locations. The Unifence originally came with this attachment strip here. You can see here it's connected to the tabletop where the bolt holes are for extension wings. So I'm going to take this off and transfer some hole locations to my framework so the holes line up right, and then I'll start attaching.
So here we go. Now comes the fun part. I've got the extension table all set. I've got the bolts through the holes in the side of the framework, and I've got a roller stand set up for the back corner, and I'm going to be underneath it, and I'm going to get those bolts started through the holes that I put in the framework into the original holes in the cast iron tabletop for extension wings. And then I've got some holes that are also threaded in the front Unifence rail that the framework of the extension table will fit in as well. And then that'll attach it firmly and solidly to the saw itself, and then I'll add some legs on the edge, and we'll be all set.
Alright, so the side extension table for a Delta Unifence is all complete. So I used the 3 bolt holes that were in this cast iron top for if this was a version with an extension wing, and so I countersunk some holes in my framework here for those 3 bolts, and I made them a little big so I had a little wiggle room up and down to get that flush with the top. And then on the front edge of this there were a couple threaded holes in a few locations that I drilled some holes in my framework as well. So the framework is attached to the front Unifence rail and the cast iron tabletop, and then obviously I've got some legs over here to finish that out. And so that's all complete, very nice and flush here, and we've got the Unifence all set. So nice little addition to this saw.